The text came through at 4:12 p.m., just as I was locking the front door behind me. Running late, don't wait up. Ashley's drama again, face with rolling us. That's what she wrote. Amanda, my wife of 6 years. The way she punctuated that message. Casual, cold, rehearsed, didn't sit right. Ashley's drama? That girl hasn't called her for anything urgent since she got married and moved to Arizona. And even if she had, I knew Amanda. She loved chaos when she could control it, but Ashley's brand of chaos was the kind that drained her. Still, I slid my phone into my pocket, out of habit more than belief, and headed to the car. I sat there for a full minute before turning the ignition. Something prickled beneath my skin. Not a thought, not yet. More like the absence of peace. When I got to my brother's garage, I pretended to care about the rust on his new Harley build, but the whole time I kept checking my phone. No updates, no calls, no surprise photos with a glass of wine and "sister time" written in cursive font over some filtered nonsense. At 6:48 p.m., I made a decision I didn't know I had been circling all day. I got back in the car and drove home. Her car wasn't in the driveway, but someone else's was. It was him, Trevor. That smug bastard with his pit-stained gym shirts and stupid grin. The first time I met him, Amanda called him just a friend from college, and I didn't question it. Why would I? He was engaged then, or said he was. That was before I noticed his comments on her Instagram posts. Before the "LOL you're too much" face with tears of joy replies that didn't sit right. Still, I'd convinced myself it was harmless. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the silence was too heavy. No TV, no music, no Amanda singing off-key to 2000s R&B while pouring wine like she used to. Just that loaded stillness that comes before a storm or after a secret shatters. Then I heard it. A laugh. Hers. It floated down the hallway like a knife wrapped in silk. I moved without thinking, like I'd left my body somewhere behind me. Past the kitchen. Past the family photos. Down the hall to the door that should have been closed. It was open. Not wide, just enough. And there she was, sitting on the edge of the couch in the guest room we never used, legs crossed, drink in hand. Trevor was on the armrest beside her, close enough to smell her shampoo. She looked up. First shock. Then the briefest flicker of annoyance. Like I was interrupting. I didn't speak. She blinked slowly. You're home early. Trevor stood up, suddenly very aware of his hands and where they were. Amanda didn't move. She just watched me with that expression I'd never seen before on her. Not guilt. Not fear. Just calculation. I said nothing. Just reached into my pocket, pulled out my wedding band, and walked across the room. I set it on the edge of the bookshelf. The one we bought together at IKEA after arguing about whether black or walnut was more timeless. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but I was already turning, already walking, and she let me. No apology, no chase, just the click of her ice in the glass as she raised it to her lips. I didn't look back. I don't think she expected me to. The hardest part wasn't what I saw. It was what I didn't see. No shock, no scrambling to explain, no attempt to cover her tracks. Amanda just sat there with Trevor beside her, as if I'd walked into a scheduled meeting she forgot to cancel. She didn't even shift her legs, just stared like she was watching me fall apart through museum glass. When I got back in the car, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just gripped the steering wheel until the leather groaned beneath my palms. I drove without knowing where. The first place that came to mind was the diner on 5th, the one we used to go to after late movies. Funny how betrayal makes familiar places feel foreign. I sat in the booth by the window, ordered coffee, and just stared at the steam curling upward like smoke from a house already burned down. My phone buzzed, and there it was, the first message. Amanda, please come home so we can talk. Then another. Amanda, you're overreacting. Then a voice message. I didn't listen. I just watched the icon pulse and thought about how many lies you could fit into 60 seconds. And I kept thinking, she didn't even get up. Not once did she try to stop me. I stayed at the diner until the lights dimmed and the waitress started wiping tables like she wanted me gone. I booked a room at a cheap motel nearby, The kind with paper-thin walls and buzzing neon that makes you feel like you're in a bad indie film. I laid on the stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling, remembering every touch, every laugh. Every night we fell asleep tangled up. Now, she was probably still sipping wine with Trevor, maybe laughing about how dramatic I looked, standing there like some outdated statue of loyalty. Morning came, and with it, clarity. I drove back to the house. Not to talk, not to fight, just to finish. She was on the porch, hair tied up, arms folded tight across her chest. No makeup. Not the Amanda I knew, the one who always had her armor on. As I stepped out of the car, she took a deep breath. I messed up, she said. No kidding. I didn't mean for it to go that far. It just happened. There it was. The magic phrase. The great excuse of weak people. It didn't just happen, I said. You opened the door. You invited it in. And you smiled while it took my place. I was lonely, she replied, quieter now. 100 replies flooded my head, but none of them mattered. I didn't need to win. I needed to be done. I trusted you, I said, my voice flat. That used to mean something. She stepped closer, like proximity could fix what she broke. Can we just start over? We can figure this out. No, I said. She flinched. You expected me to crawl. To fight. To beg, I continued. I'm not doing any of that. I gave you everything. And you gave it away for nothing. She started crying then. Finally. But it was too late. Her tears were receipts for a sale already made. I walked past her. Packed a single bag. Left the photos. Left the furniture. Left the echo of us. And I didn't look back. She called out once, not my name. Just wait. But I was already gone. The strange thing is how quickly the world goes on. It's like the earth doesn't care that your whole life just imploded. You still get junk mail. The barista still spells your name wrong. People still post photos of their dogs with captions like, my whole world, paw prints, and it all feels disgusting. Fake. Or maybe I just wasn't in it anymore. 3 days after I left, Amanda showed up at my motel door. I'd barely been sleeping, the kind of nights where your eyes are closed, but your brain's just busy building scenes you didn't get to see. What did she say to him after I walked out? Did she make jokes about me? Did they laugh at the way I set the ring down so gently, like I was trying not to wake the dead? When I opened the door, she looked smaller. No makeup again. Hoodie. Hair unwashed. And still, I thought for one brief second, maybe she's here to say it all. To break down. To tell the truth. But of course, Amanda had other plans. Can we talk? I stepped aside. She walked in like it was still hers. Looked around at the cracked lamp and the faded carpet and made that face she used to make when I burned toast. Like being near decay made her itch. You've made your point, she said, sitting on the edge of the bed. You're hurt. I get it. I didn't say anything. Just watched her. She sighed. But walking out like that? Not answering? That's not how grown-ups handle things. That's when I laughed. I couldn't help it. Cheating on your husband in your own house is how grown-ups handle things? She rolled her eyes. Rolled. Her. Eyes. It was a mistake, she snapped. And now you're punishing me for it like I'm some child. Punishing her. That's the moment I knew she wasn't sorry. Not really. Not for what she did, only for the consequences. Her apology wasn't grief. It was damage control. I didn't ask you to come here, I said. I'm your wife. Were. That one word hit her. Not like a slap, more like ice down the back of her spine. She blinked. So you're really just throwing away 6 years? I stared at her. At the woman who once danced barefoot in our kitchen to Sod, who once cried in my arms when her dad got sick. That woman was gone. Maybe she'd been gone for longer than I knew. You threw it away, I said. I just noticed. She stood. I could see it in her eyes. She wanted to yell, to scream, to make this about my reaction and not her betrayal. But she didn't. She turned, walked to the door, then paused. You'll regret this, she said. But her voice cracked this time. And I didn't respond. When the door closed behind her, I felt the quiet settle into my chest like fresh air after a storm. For the first time in a long time, it didn't hurt to breathe. I didn't go back to the house. Not even once. The clothes I left behind, the books, my tools in the garage, all of it suddenly felt like artifacts from a life that belonged to someone else. Someone naive. Someone who believed that shared laughter was stronger than secrets. Amanda didn't message me again after that motel visit. For 3 days, complete silence. Not even a passive-aggressive Instagram story, which was her favorite kind of weapon when she wanted me to know she was fine. I thought maybe she'd finally understood. Then came the envelope. Hand-delivered. No postage. Slid under my motel door like some kind of twisted love note. I opened it expecting more pleas, more gaslighting. Instead, it was cold. A typed list. Bullet points. You left the mortgage unpaid. The car title is still in both our names. We should agree on what to do about the shared credit cards. I've consulted a lawyer. That last line, for words, no fluff, hit me like a punch. She wasn't grieving. She was planning. It took me 15 minutes to drive to my friend Kyle's place. He had a spare room and a blunt sense of logic that helped me think straight. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a key, a beer, and said, "She's poison. You're lucky it only took you 6 years to realize." I started making lists of my own. Nothing fancy. Just a notebook with scribbled lines. Call lawyer. Cancel joint cards. Get new bank account. Figure out who I am without her. It was that last one that took the longest. At night, I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to text her about something dumb, a meme, a song, a memory. Then I'd remember her hand on Trevor's thigh and the way she didn't even flinch when I walked in. One evening, I went by the dog park. Not because we had a dog, Amanda always said she was too busy for pet hair, but because it used to be our Sunday thing. Sit on the bench, watch the dogs, talk about someday. Now I sat alone. Just me and a pen. Writing down things I missed. It surprised me how few of them were actually about her. I missed the idea of Amanda. The illusion. The comfort of thinking someone was truly on my team. But the real woman? The one who weaponized silence and smiled through lies? I didn't miss her. That night, I got a message from Ashley, Amanda's sister. "Ashley, hey. Just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't know any of it. If you ever need to talk, I'm here." I stared at the message for a while. Thought about what Amanda must be saying now. How she'd spin the story. Maybe I was cold. Maybe I withdrew. Maybe Trevor was just there for her in a way I wasn't. But Ashley's message that meant Amanda hadn't controlled every narrative. People were starting to see. And for the first time since the whole thing started, I smiled. The first time I saw her after that motel night wasn't in court or at a lawyer's office. It was at Trader Joe's. Of all places. I was grabbing something quick, hadn't slept, hadn't shaved, wearing a hoodie that probably still smelled like Kyle's couch. I turned the corner near the freezer aisle and there she was. Amanda. Looking polished. Lipstick perfect, hair done in that strategic messy look she always nailed. She had a basket in one hand and a man beside her. Not Trevor. This one was taller. Older. Better dressed. His hand rested on the small of her back like he belonged there. She saw me. Froze. For a split second I could see the calculation fire behind her eyes. Not shame. Not regret. But awareness. Like she'd been caught reading a script she didn't write. I nodded. Kept walking. She didn't call out. Didn't follow. Just watched me pass with this unreadable half-smile like she was trying to decide whether I was jealous or pathetic. I wasn't either. The moment passed like a stone dropped in water, a ripple, nothing more. Later that night, I sat on Kyle's porch with a bottle of something too strong for my empty stomach and went through the photos on my phone. Not intentionally. Just muscle memory. I'd avoided them for weeks. There she was, laughing with a scoop of ice cream melting down her hand. Her in the backyard, barefoot in July, holding a sparkler like a kid. Her sleeping in the passenger seat during road trips. And me. Always smiling. Always next to her. But behind every single image, behind every framed memory was a lie I hadn't caught yet. A moment where I believed and she knew better. I deleted them. Not in anger. Not as revenge. But as release. 2 days later, Amanda texted me. "Amanda, we need to talk. Can we meet?" No punctuation this time. No emoji. That alone told me she wasn't playing for show. I waited a full day before responding. "Me, why?" She replied instantly. "Amanda, because I was wrong. And because you were right. About all of it. A trap? Maybe. But some part of me, not the part that wanted her back, but the part that wanted closure, said, go. Hear it. Let her lie to your face one more time if she has to. Then bury it for good." We met at the coffee place downtown where she used to drag me every Saturday morning because their almond croissants were the only real ones in town. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at the back, sunglasses on the table, hands wrapped around a cup like it could warm whatever was left of her conscience. When she saw me, she looked nervous. Good. She didn't start with hello. She started with, "I ruined everything." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, you did." And then she said something I didn't expect. She said his name. Trevor. And what she told me next was not at all what I thought I'd hear. She said his name like it burned. Trevor wasn't just a mistake, Amanda began, voice low like she was ashamed or pretending to be. It wasn't just one night. It started months ago. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just watched her talk. We ran into each other at a networking thing. He was charming. He remembered things about me that you didn't. She looked up to see if that jab landed. It didn't. I waited. Amanda swallowed. It felt easy. Familiar. Like I could breathe without constantly feeling like I was failing. I raised an eyebrow. Failing at what? Loyalty? She didn't answer. Just looked down at her coffee like it might defend her. Then she said the part that made the whole thing tilt sideways. He's gone. I blinked. Gone? Amanda nodded, a shaky smile twitching onto her lips. Turns out Trevor has a wife. Real one. Not separated. Not it's complicated. Wife. 2 kids. He blocked me. Deleted everything. Ghosted me like I never existed. For the first time, her voice cracked in a way I hadn't heard. Not defensive. Not performative. Just broken. And for 1 second, I almost pitied her. Almost. She shook her head, biting her lip like she could stop the tremble. I thought he was different. And I thought you were, I replied. That stung her more than I expected. I didn't come here to ask for anything, she said. I needed you to know that it wasn't just about you. I was lost. And he offered a distraction. And then he disappeared. I sipped my coffee, letting the silence stretch long and cold. Amanda looked up again. I'm sorry. And maybe she was. But not for cheating. Not for betraying me in the place we built together. She was sorry that Trevor dumped her. Sorry that the fantasy collapsed before she could rewrite the ending. Sorry she was alone. Thank you, I said finally. For the honesty. She looked relieved. Like that meant something. Like I was going to say, let's try again. Let's rebuild. But I didn't. I stood up, pushed in my chair, and left her there with her half-empty coffee and full cup of consequences. Outside, the air felt lighter. I didn't look back. Again. But the next day, she did something I didn't expect. Again. She showed up at my work. I was in the middle of reviewing a project timeline when someone from reception buzzed up. There's a woman here asking for you. She says it's urgent. I already knew who it was. Amanda hadn't shown up at my work once in 6 years. Not for birthdays. Not when I got promoted. But now? Now she was here. I came downstairs expecting some scene, some emotional collapse. Instead, I found her standing in the lobby, poised. Makeup perfect. Hairstyled. Dressed like she was on her way to close a deal. Except she wasn't selling a product. She was selling herself. I'm not here to beg, she said before I could even speak. Just give me 5 minutes. I didn't say yes. I just walked past her to the side lot behind the building. She followed. She handed me an envelope. What's this? I asked. It's everything. I opened it. Inside were papers. Statements. Screenshots. Printed emails. Text threads between her and Trevor. Proof. Receipts of deceit. She documented every message he'd sent, every deleted plan, even screenshots of hotel bookings. One particular message stood out. From Trevor about a week before I caught them. Trevor, he'll never leave. You said he was too passive. I looked up. Amanda was watching me like a child bracing for punishment. I kept all of it. I thought maybe someday I'd need it. Not to hurt you, she added quickly. To explain. To be honest. I almost laughed. Honest? Yeah? You kept the receipts for me? I said. No. You kept them in case he ruined you. Which he did. I know how it sounds, she muttered. It sounds like self-preservation, I said. And you're good at that. I'll give you that. She didn't argue. She looked tired. Not the glamorous, polished Amanda I'd known. Not the smug version that leaned into Trevor's shoulder while I walked away from my own house. Just tired. Why are you doing this? I asked. She took a breath. Because I don't want you to hate me. It was honest. Maybe the first honest thing she'd said in months. But it was also pathetic. I don't hate you, I said. You're not worth that much. She winced. But she took it. And that was the difference now. I didn't want to punish her. I didn't want revenge. I wanted detachment. Pure, clean detachment. I turned and walked back into the building. She didn't follow. But a week later, her name came up again. Not in a text. Not in a call. In a legal envelope. From her lawyer. And what was inside, that changed everything. The envelope was heavier than it should have been. Thick, official, cold. My name typed in bold on the front, addressed to the apartment I just moved into. No note. No warning. Just consequences. I opened it slowly like it might bite. Inside, a petition. Amanda was filing for separation of assets aggressively. She wanted the house. She wanted half of my savings. She even had the nerve to list the car I bought before we got married under community property. There was a spreadsheet attached, color-coded. She'd labeled things. My personal tools, my home office gear, even the damn espresso machine I saved for, as shared. Like she hadn't burned the whole thing down with Trevor. Like betrayal somehow made her entitled. My lawyer called it a power play. It's about control, she said. She lost you. Now she wants to keep what's left. Felt like a second betrayal, somehow worse than the first. She didn't just want out. She wanted to walk away with souvenirs. I didn't respond to her directly. I let the lawyer speak. Let the coldness shield me. But inside I was boiling. Not because she wanted money. Not even because she was being petty. Because she had the audacity to still play victim. Then the real twist came. Ashley, her sister, texted me again. Ashley, you need to know something. It's not just you. Called her. And what she said peeled back a layer I didn't know existed. Apparently, Amanda had done this before. Before me. Before marriage. Back when she was dating some guy named Colin, her ex I'd heard about once or twice. The story had always been the same. He was cold. He didn't appreciate me. But Ashley told me the truth. Amanda cheated on him, too. With a coworker. Lied. Manipulated. Played the same hand she played with me. Colin found out, tried to walk, and Amanda, just like now, tried to gut him financially. It was a pattern. Not a moment of weakness. A lifestyle. I hung up and stared at the ceiling for a long time. My heartbeat slowed. My hands stopped shaking. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was clarity. Amanda wasn't broken. She was built this way. And suddenly, I knew exactly what to do next. Clarity changes everything. I stopped feeling like a victim and started thinking like a survivor. Amanda's betrayal wasn't a personal attack. It was her playbook. A cycle. One she'd danced through before and would no doubt perform again with the next poor guy who thought he was different. But I wasn't going to be another Colin. I wasn't going to fold. My lawyer and I restructured our response. No more being reasonable. No more bending for the sake of peace. Amanda wanted to fight. I'd meet her in the ring with facts, timelines, and her own receipts as ammo. I sent in my counterpetition with surgical precision. Detailed bank records showing my premarital assets. Proof that the car was purchased 2 years before we married. Screenshots of Amanda's texts to Trevor. Timestamps aligned with the exact nights she'd lied to my face. And one final piece, a sworn statement from Ashley. Yes, her own sister. Ashley had had enough. Of the lies. The manipulation. The years of watching Amanda scorch everyone who trusted her and then pretend to cry over the ashes. She didn't just back me up. She offered to testify. When Amanda got the revised petition, she didn't reply. Not directly. But 2 days later, my lawyer forwarded me an email from Amanda's new attorney. She was now open to a fair and amicable division. Translation. She was retreating. The girl who had leaned back on my couch with Trevor's hand between her thighs, who had smirked as I walked out of the house we built. She was folding. Quietly, like a con artist caught mid-act. Should have felt like victory. Instead, it just felt like peace. Quiet, slow peace. I started sleeping again. Not the shallow, haunted naps I'd been surviving on, real sleep. The kind that doesn't feel like a fight. I got a gym membership. I deleted every last trace of her from my phone. New playlists. New passwords. New habits. One night I went to a bar with Kyle and some friends. Just a drink. Just music. Just the buzz of strangers who didn't know what I'd been through. And that's when I saw her. Not Amanda. Someone else. Dark curly hair. Reading something on her phone. Laughing to herself. She looked up and caught me staring. She didn't smile. She didn't look away. And for a moment, the part of me that thought I was done, that I'd never trust, never want again, cracked just a little. Amanda may have broken the life I had. But she didn't break me. The final hearing took 11 minutes. 11. 6 years together, reduced to legal jargon and a few quiet nods. Amanda showed up looking like she always did in moments like this. Polished, unbothered, as if showing emotion would ruin her foundation. I barely looked at her. I didn't need to. She knew what I knew. The mask had slipped. The court accepted our settlement. The one where she walked away with less than she wanted and exactly what she deserved. I kept the car, kept my savings, kept my name off the house she'd already begun listing for sale. She turned it into a transaction, so I treated it like one. As we exited the building, she walked beside me in silence for a few seconds before she finally said, "I guess this is it." I nodded. She tilted her head like she was searching for something in my face. Anger, regret, anything she could use to anchor herself in my memory. But I gave her nothing. "Take care, Jack," she said and turned away. I watched her walk to her car, the same one she used to drive to those late-night runs to Ashley's. She didn't look back. Not once. Good. I stood there a moment longer, just listening. To the cars. To the breeze. To the silence inside me that no longer felt like emptiness, just space. Space for something better. Over the next few weeks, I started building again. Not a home. Not a relationship. Just a rhythm. Morning jogs. Clean meals. New books. I went out with friends. I let laughter back in. And sometimes in quiet moments I think about the version of myself that stayed. That begged. That crawled. And I'd feel proud of the version that didn't. One Saturday I found myself back at that same bar. Curly hair girl was there again. This time she smiled first. And I smiled back. No grand promises. No fantasy. Just two people, strangers, alive at the same time, maybe on the edge of something real. I don't know what comes next. But I know this. I gave my best to someone who never deserved it. And that will never be my shame. That will always be her loss. To anyone out there reading this, going through the same kind of slow burn betrayal, don't wait for them to change. Don't beg someone to treat you like a human. Walk away with your dignity even if your heart is still dragging behind you. They expected you to crawl. So stand. And keep walking.